3 years ago, a man came to me completely desperate. "Marcus, I don't understand what's wrong with me. I make $120,000 a year and I'm always broke. I've read every personal finance book. I have perfect Excel budgets. But something isn't working." I asked him for one single thing: show me your last 30 days of spending. Everything. No filters. He went pale, and right there, I knew exactly what was happening, because the problem wasn't his budget, it wasn't his salary, it wasn't a lack of discipline. The problem was that his spending was screaming a truth he didn't want to hear. Look, no, this is going to be uncomfortable, because today we're going to do something no one wants to do. We're going to look at your bank statement as if it were your secret diary, because that's exactly what it is. Every transaction, every purchase, it's just $5. Every coffee, every subscription you forgot to cancel, all of it is telling a story, and it's not the story you think you're living, it's the story of who you really are when no one is watching. If this is already hitting close to home, subscribe. This isn't random finance advice, this is a 12-lesson journey, and each lesson builds on the last. In the next minutes, you're going to discover the secret language of money, how your spending is an automatic confession of your emotional state, the 3 financial escape patterns, and why you repeat them even when you swear you won't, the 7-day mirror exercise. The only method I know to break the cycle and take real control. And leave a comment with one word: mirror. That tells me you're willing to actually look. Everyone tells you the same thing: you need a budget. You need discipline. Stop buying lattes. And you try. God knows you try. You build the perfect budget, you promise yourself this month will be different, and it works. Just for 4 days, then something happens. A bad day at work, an argument with your partner, anxiety on a Tuesday night at 11 p.m., and suddenly you're on Amazon buying things you don't need, or in a drive-thru ordering food you're not even hungry for, or renewing a subscription you don't use because maybe someday. Why? Because budgets attack the symptom, but the wound is somewhere else. Your money gives you away, the mirror doesn't lie, you decide whether you look at it. Confucius, over 2,500 years ago, said something that still gives me chills: the nature of men is the same, it is their habits that separate them. What a man does repeatedly reveals what he truly values. Let me show you why this still matters today. There was a merchant in ancient China who appeared successful. He dressed well, spoke about investments, attended the right gatherings, but Confucius noticed something strange. The man spent more on wine than on food for his family, more on impressing strangers than on caring for his home. This man, Confucius told his students, is terrified of being invisible. And that fear is consuming him from the inside. Does that sound familiar? Think about the last expensive thing you needed. That jacket, that gadget, that dinner meant to impress. Was it really a need, or was it fear disguised as desire? Fear of not being enough, fear of being forgotten, fear of feeling what you're actually feeling. Confucius understood this: the external always reflects the internal. If your spending is chaotic, your mind is chaotic. If you spend to fill emptiness, it's because there's a void you haven't faced. If your purchases are impulsive, you're running from something. The mirror doesn't lie, you decide whether you look. Now listen carefully. Sigmund Freud identified something he called parapraxis, slips of behavior that reveal what we truly feel. You call your partner by your ex's name, you forget your wallet when it's time to pay, you lose a gift from someone you secretly resent. They aren't accidents, they're confessions. Your spending works the same way. A Stanford research project in 2017 tracked the purchasing behavior of thousands of people for a full year. A clear pattern emerged: the majority of impulsive purchases happened immediately after stressful events, not days later, not weeks later, minutes later. Fight with your boss Amazon at 2 a.m., financial anxiety, small $20 purchases that become $400 a month, loneliness on a Sunday, food delivery even though your fridge is full. See the pattern: you're not spending money, you're medicating emotions. And here's the part that hit me hardest: Freud believed these slips are how the unconscious forces you to see what you're avoiding. Your credit card isn't just a payment tool, it's your emotional journal. Every charge is a clue, every transaction is a confession your mouth won't say, but your wallet is screaming. When you combine Confucius and Freud, ancient wisdom and modern psychology, you arrive at the same truth: your money reflects your soul, and if you don't like what you see in your bank statement, it's because something inside you needs healing. So what do you do with this? Here's your first action. It will be uncomfortable, the good kind of uncomfortable, the 7-day mirror exercise. For the next 7 days, every time you spend money, $2 or $200, write it down immediately, not just the amount. Also write, what were you feeling right before the purchase? What emotional need were you trying to meet? At the end of each day, ask yourself, what story did my money tell today? Identify one repeating pattern. Just one. You're not judging yourself, you're seeing yourself. Because you can't change what you can't see. Let me show you what I discovered in my own process. When I lost the $80,000 I told you about in lesson 1, I did this exercise. What I saw crushed me. Nearly 60% of my spending was an attempt to prove I had made it. Clothes I barely wore, expensive dinners with people I barely knew, gadgets I needed for my business that ended up in a drawer. I was still the child who grew up watching his parents fight over money, and I was spending to convince that scared kid that we were finally safe. But it was never enough, because you can't buy internal peace with external money. Money spent running from yourself always disappears. Because it's not used to create, it's used to escape. After working with hundreds of people, I see the same 3 patterns over and over. Pattern 1, the soother: you buy to numb emotions. Bad day equals shopping, anxiety equals delivery, boredom equals subscriptions you don't use. Sign, unopened packages. Because it was never about the thing. Pattern 2, the impressor: you spend to prove your worth. You buy what a successful person should have, image over substance. Sign, you care more about others seeing it than enjoying it. Pattern 3, the avoider: you avoid checking your accounts. You delete bank emails unopened. Not thinking about it is your strategy. Sign, a knot in your stomach when you think about your balance. Which one are you? Probably all 3 at different times. Seeing the pattern is 80% of the work. Because once you see it, it can no longer control you in secret. Now comes the part that separates those who want to change from those who actually do change. The 3 truth filter: use it before any purchase over $20. Pay attention. What I'm about to share took me years to understand. Before you buy anything, ask yourself these 3 questions. Truth number 1, what emotion am I feeling right now? Don't judge the emotion. Just name it: anxiety, boredom, fear, excitement. Truth number 2, does this purchase solve a real problem, or is it calming a temporary emotion? Be brutally honest. No one is watching. Truth number 3, how will I feel about this purchase in 3 days? Because regret always arrives after the rush. Real example: I want to buy these $150 shoes. Truth number 1, I feel bored and frustrated with my job. Truth number 2, the shoes won't change my work situation. This is emotional. Truth number 3, in 3 days, I'll feel just as frustrated, but $150 poorer. Do you see how everything changes when you make it conscious? If after answering all 3 truths you still want to buy it, without guilt. But I guarantee you that most of the time you'll realize, it wasn't the thing you wanted, it was relief. And when you see that, when you really see it, everything changes. Because now you have a choice, you can choose instead of reacting, and that difference changes everything. The mirror doesn't lie, you decide whether you look. I know this is heavy, I'm asking you to look directly at things you've been avoiding, but here's why it's worth it. In lesson 1, you saw that you have an internal financial thermostat, an invisible limit of what you believe you deserve. Today, you discovered how that thermostat controls you, through every expense, every decision, every automatic transaction, and in the next lessons, you'll learn how to reprogram that thermostat at the root. But first, you have to see the pattern. You have to sit with your bank statement and say, okay, this is what I've been doing. And now I'm going to do something different. Not from judgment, not from shame, from compassion. Because everything you've done so far, you did to survive, to calm fear, to feel safe, even if only for a moment. You weren't weak, you weren't irresponsible, you were human, but now that you see it, now that you understand the pattern, you don't have to repeat it. This week, when you do the 7-day mirror exercise, things will happen. Days 1 and 2, it will feel silly. Do I really need to write why I bought a coffee? Days 3 to 4, you'll start seeing patterns that make you uncomfortable. You might even get angry. Days 5 to 6, something clicks. You'll see the expense that explains everything. Day 7, you'll have clarity you haven't had in years. I'm not asking for blind faith. I'm asking for 7 days of brutal honesty. And if after those 7 days you haven't learned something fundamental about yourself, I'll never ask you to trust me again, but you will see something, because the mirror doesn't lie, and when you see it, when you really see it, you'll understand why I say this. Money is not the problem. It never was. Money is just the messenger showing you where healing is needed. Let me leave you with this. 3 years ago, the man I told you about at the beginning, the one making $120,000 and still broke, he did this exercise, and what he discovered made him cry. 80% of his necessary expenses were actually attempts to earn the approval of a father who never gave it to him, expensive suits to look professional, even though he worked from home, a car he couldn't afford to look successful. Over-the-top gifts for his family to prove he had made it. But his father had died 10 years earlier. He was spending $8,000 a month trying to impress a ghost. When he saw it, when he truly processed it, everything changed, not because he became cheap, not because he stopped enjoying his money, but because he started spending from peace, not fear, and in 18 months, he saved over $60,000, not through heroic effort, but by stopping battles he had already won. That man is you, that battle is yours, and the blessings that come when you let go of that internal war, are already on their way. You just have to do the work. Just 7 days, the 7-day mirror exercise, the 3 truth filter, and when you see your pattern, when you finally see it clearly, comment I saw it. Because when you share it, it becomes real, and when it becomes real, you can change it. The mirror doesn't lie, you decide whether you look. The blessings are already here, you just need eyes to see them. See you in next lesson. That's where you'll discover which character has been making decisions for you without you knowing. Are you ready?